to come with me for your next vacation? Does that mean yes? Thank you again, FASNY and Joel and Scott and Adrienne and FASNY team for organizing this event. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming on a very nice Sunday afternoon. And I also want to thank the most important person in that film, who is the director, Bertrand de la Pierre from Chamonix, who did most of the filming and the directing, and we don't see him in the film, but he's been doing amazing stunts to get all this footage done, and he really needs to be thanked. So with that, if you have any questions, happy to answer questions, if I can, on any subjects of the film or some of the subjects which are mentioned in the film.
Hello, I have a question. How long will the OAs collecting data continue to collect data? Are they expected?
Yeah, the floats will stay. They are powered with a battery, so they will stay until the battery is dead. Typically over 2 years, 2-3 years is the duration of their work. And sometimes they are recovered, somewhere on a beach or a boat, but most of the time they just die there at sea. But they will transmit data, every few days, depending on how they've been programmed.
Would you have had better weather if you'd gone perhaps a month later?
Impossible to say. The weather is so unpredictable in that part of the world. It's typically very miserable weather. There's I think it's 66 inches of water falling, per year on South Georgia. It's nice weather, sunny about 10% of the time. So chances are, whenever you go, it's going to be bad weather. Mostly bad weather. We chose that period because we wanted the ice, snow, to be firm enough to ski on it with our polkas. So the end of October, November, the end of the Antarctic winter were the best time to go, and we also wanted to still have the beginning of the breeding season for the wildlife. So you see these guys starting to get prepared for laying eggs and whatnot. For the wildlife to see the chicks and all that, the perfect time would be January, February, which is typically when, if you do a cruise, Antarctic cruise, or visit these areas, that would be a very nice time to go, and also the kind of best weather. But would not be a good time to cross South Georgia, because the snow and the ice would be very mushy, and crevasses would be more dangerous, potentially dangerous. Yes?
The chances to be injured were pretty high. What would you have done this time?
Yeah, I mean, like when you go skiing or on a boat, and or kind of a extreme or near extreme adventure sport, there are risks of being injured. The risk there, as you mentioned, is that you are far from any place to get taken care of if there is a major problem. So obviously we're very prudent, and especially the crew on the ship is prepared to help for the first aid. But if there's a major problem, your best hope and only hope would be a cruise ship, sailing in these waters, maybe 1, 2, 3 days away from where we were. That's typically how you would get rescued. But yeah, you can make the scenario where something really dramatic happens, and there is no, you just don't make it because there is no nearby hospital. Yeah, that can happen. The chances are obviously very remote, or we would not do it if it were not the case.
Did you see signs of global warming?
Excuse me?
Did you see signs of global warming?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but as I've said in other talks, you cannot just by going somewhere once say, haha, it's warming and climate is changing and it's horrible and all that. But for example, when we arrive, when you see us walking, pulling our polkas on the grass, where the snow has melted there, which is Fortuna Bay. In 100 years ago, 1916, when Shackleton arrived there, this entire area was covered by the glacier, the front end of the glacier. So knowing that 100 years later, if you go, the front of that glacier now is like 2 miles away. So when you put what you see today in relation to history and you talk to people who've been there, or you look at maps and graphs, yes, obviously that becomes a sign of warming. To give you an idea, in 2008 they did a survey of 36 of the 160 glaciers on South Georgia. And out of 36, 28 are receding, 2 are advancing, and 6 are, kind of a mixed response or neutral. So 28 out of 36, including the one on Fortuna Bay, are receding. So that gives you an idea of the proportion of the damage on South Georgia itself. There are more subtle signs in the fauna and flora and all that. By the way, I'm donating tonight a book I've written. Some of you might know about it, but it's a book, kind of a companion book I've written about the expedition, and you have a lot of details about the trip. So I'm giving one per family tonight, and you'll get it as you walk out of the theater. So you'll have more details, answers. I might not remember everything I've written in the book, so you'll get more as you hopefully read it. It's in French and English, so it's a great tool as well for you. Yes, Kim.
Where did you grow up, and what were your parents like that you turned into this kind of guy? What were you doing as a kid? I mean,
Yeah, actually, I was a pretty normal, boring kid, and my mom has never been in an airplane, never ever. She's 88 now. And my father went to, he was in the army, French army, went to, Indochina war. So did travel a little bit, but as far as I remember, maybe in the genes, being from Brittany, the DNA, sailor and a little bit of adventure. I collected stamps, which I think had a great impact on me. Yeah, really, I mean, it's...
How old were you when you first started stepping out?
Excuse me?
How old were you when you first started
well, my first trip
going to the edge?
outside of France was actually Belgium when I was 14. And then England, a month in England in the summer to improve on my English at age 15 and 16. And, in those days, kids were not traveling much, so I did not much more than the others. Our daughter, I know, now is graduating next week from at Georgetown. Just told us the other day she's 22 and she's been to 40 countries. And it might be above average, but it's not exceptional especially in the kind of families we are here. But at her age, I've been to 5-6 countries. So. But yeah, I've always been. Travel is one thing. I guess more generally it's just curiosity. I'm just curious about what's going on in the world and everywhere, and I ask questions, and not always satisfied with the answers, and I like to ask more questions and go see by myself. I guess it's just What you see here is a continuation of that desire to just, oh, I'm just going to go see by myself kind of attitude. Yes?
Have you found any objects or signs from the initial expedition?
No, we didn't find anything, we didn't look for anything, and 100 years of that kind of weather would make any artifacts which was left at the time, totally blown away. Interestingly, I'm talking to National Geographic. They've been thinking of doing an expedition to recover the wreck of the Endurance, which is about, I would say, probably 5,000–10,000 feet deep, in the water. They know exactly where it sunk, and with analysis of the currents and the depth and the speed of this and that, they have a pretty much good idea of where it would be. So there is a possibility in the next couple of years of an expedition going to recover the Endurance.
Look, we have a question here in the back.
Sorry?
How many times did the diver dive?
He did it twice, actually. A little kind of a training one to make sure everything was fine. And then on Elephant Island, at that beach of Elephant Island, a second time. I must say that diving was more kind of for the fun and the filming and the pretending that we might find a case of whiskey or something was kind of a lame excuse to dive there. I mean, again, with the hurricane force wind and water movement there, the chances of finding anything near the beach was pretty much zero. Yes?
Two people who wanted to ask questions. This gentleman's been waiting.
If you can talk about it, what was the cost of the expedition?
Expedition like this, to give you an idea, just a boat to charter, to rent a boat like this with a crew, a three-person crew is about $6,000 a day. So if you go for 6 weeks, you multiply that and you add all the other costs. Not including paying for the filmmaker and all this. It's about $300,000, I would say, and that's not including the cost of the floats of the scientific equipment, which any of these floats would cost, depending on the model, between $10,000 and $30,000, and that was donated by CNRS and the NSF in the US, part of their. Well, what we did was an extension of their program. There are about 4,000 of these floats in the world, spread all over the world at a given point in time, and we added 11, but in a region where there was virtually none. So that was deemed very important to do that work there.
I had two questions.
Sure.
One was, did Zoe finish her PhD?
Did Zoe what, sorry?
Finish her PhD,
not yet. No, she was 23 when we did this, so she's not finished yet. I think she has another couple of years to go. Yeah.
And then my second question is
Sure.
a very minor one. You had an aerial shots over the animals in the bay. I was wondering, how did they do that?
Yeah, I'm a tall guy, so. No, more seriously, I did bring a drone, actually 2 drones. So this footage is done using my drone, and that's a couple of people here might know that I enjoy flying drones, and I did that footage. The footage above the seals and penguins is drone. The shot above Géraldine also, snowboarding down the mountain, is my drone as well. And for the footage, over the Australis, over the boat, that was actually made at the end of the expedition in the Falkland Islands, where thanks to our British military friends, we had access to a British Army helicopter there. So, they took us for an hour kind of flying around the boat to get that footage that you see at the beginning and at the end. Going back to the budget question, some of that funding comes from, some of the members of the expedition themselves, some from me, and also some from sponsors. I had a few sponsors in the expedition, especially two French groups, Sopra and La Française, which is an asset management firm. So some of these people help, and I do these kind of presentations to these corporate sponsors as well, which is a nice exchange of help and services.
Two questions related to the floats. How are they being tracked from the space?
Mm-hmm.
And also, so far it's been over a year that you've been able to track data. Has any interesting results come out from that?
Yes. So every few days they are at about 1,000 meters, which is a depth where they're not, impeding ship traffic or wildlife. And they go down 2,000 meters, and they go up slowly. They capture the data at the surface. They emit the data through a satellite, like Iridium GPS kind of a network. So that's how this data is collected. So you really have the data in real time. This is an open source database, so you can go on the website and get that data. You'll see a lot of details in the book. I have a whole chapter on that. So that's how it's collected. And the second part of the question was...
Have you found any...
Yeah, the scientists who wanted to do that study are working on a paper. It typically takes let's say 2 years after the data is collected before they come out with a paper, and whether it is for the float data analysis or the snow sample analysis, we expect something probably later this year. And bear in mind, there will probably be some specific article or paper based on what we've done, but simple, even if nothing is ever written specifically on that region, just the fact that these floats are there, they're part of a database, and they help understand especially the ACC, the circumpolar current and all that. So that's really a good part of the database that way.
How did you and your crew prepare yourselves for the expedition?
How did we prepare?
Physically?
How did we prepare ourselves?
Yes, physically.
Yeah. Physically? Yeah. Physically, as you can see, I'm not an athlete. I just try to stay in shape and work and, run, do some stuff every day if I can. So you have to have a good baseline of being in shape, because a lot can happen. And we were all, well, not all with the soldiers and Zoe, but we're all kind of familiar with mountaineering, even if some were much better. Ben, for example, my pole guide and friend, has done what we call a Grand Slam, which is going to the North Pole, to the South Pole in total autonomy and climbing Everest. So that's kind of probably one of the best ones in the world. And some more modest, like myself, good mountaineering experience. That helps also with the mental, because you've been through many situations. So when there is the kind of storm we had, you're not necessarily panicking, even though you're not totally confident everything will go well, but so that helps as well. And some were better at sailing and some better at other things. But the best thing to do is to be in good shape, every day and kind of do your exercise and sports and stuff. Yes, Kim?
What do you hope, you've put a lot of effort into this and you put your neck at risk too. So what is your major goal? What do you hope to do with this film, and what would you like us to help with?
Yeah, well, I frankly, it's kind of almost selfish, but I just like to do this. So even if there were no outcome or content that I could communicate and spread, I really enjoy going to these regions and doing that kind of adventure, discovery, and exploration, especially with these groups and friends. Each time the goal is really to kind of gather knowledge, accumulate some pieces of science and content, which is packaged in a book. This is the fifth book I've written on about these trips and exploration, and this is the first film which almost came accidentally because I was not really planning to do a film before leaving, but we came up with very nice footage, as I hope you can appreciate, and then we developed a story and an adventure, and it became a really interesting film which is shown in festivals. It's been shown at the Festival d'Angoulême, which is the largest French film festival, and La Rochelle, which is a great adventure film festival in the US as well, French consulate, embassies, and other places, at the UN in September. So, all these events are great to do exactly what we're doing tonight. It's, there is no really specific a specific message here, except that, look at, the world, how beautiful and fantastic it is, this wildlife, and look how it's been evolving over time, put it in context, and, make up your mind. I think today no one needs to be convinced that climate is a little bit screwed up and changing, and it's more about trying to see what we can do about it. I mean, when Shackleton was in South Georgia, there were 1.8 billion people on Earth, and today there are more than 7 billion. So you can put things in perspective, how it's evolving fast. By the way, a great film that you may not have seen called Demain, or Tomorrow, which is a great documentary which came out in France in December. It would be a great film to watch about solutions, not only solutions but the environment, but also economy, education, and health, and all that. It's a great documentary.
You have been preparing for years this trip. You have been to many places. What surprised you the most at the occasion of that trip? What was unexpected?
Even though when I read and when I talk to people, experts or people who know about these places, you can easily become depressed because the stories are so bad, so terrible. And yet each time I go to these places, it's very exciting and beautiful, and a lot of new things to see here, to see there. I guess what's exciting is that each time there are a lot of whether it's, you know, on location, like when I go to Greenland, where there are actually populations, or coming back from these trips, it's always great to see the interest of public and students, or whomever the audience is, having an interest and curiosity. I mean, each time it's I create links with people or young students who want to do something about it. So it's what's really exciting here.
Well, does anybody have one last question? There?
What's your next trip?
Oh, well, you give me an idea. Tell me. No, I have several expeditions I'm working on at the design stage. One in the Russian Arctic, been to several Arctic countries, but not Russia yet. With a similar mix of adventure and also looking at the mammoth, a lot of mammoth tusks and stories there, and you can discover more of them as the permafrost and ice is melting there. And also Pacific, warmer waters for a change. The idea would be to cross the Pacific from east to west to look at the coral reef situation and all that, which is very depressing. I was in New Caledonia 3 weeks ago for a conference called Oceania 22, which is kind of a COP21, but for Oceania. And the situation is really, really bad for these island states and their populations, and so that's a subject of interest as well. And but I like also the historical part, so the looking at the historical angle, like the Shackleton angle, which is a very interesting story, and make it more attractive and puts it in a perspective. And in a way, I mean, Shackleton was, in a way, he failed in what he did. He tried to reach the South Pole 3 times and failed 3 times, and yet it's a message for FASNY students. You can miserably fail 3 times and be remembered forever. So, and be a hero. So, yeah. Go for it. Try and try and try.
Luc, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you also for the wonderful books that you can get, and for sharing your wise words your wisdom with us. Thank you.